Thank you. Carol, thank you very much. It is indeed an honor to be here. I'm really blessed today to be with you and to share Texas with those of you who don't live here every day. I'm just blessed in multiple ways. Not only to be with men and women who value human life, stand united to protect our nation's most vulnerable citizens, the unborn, but I also stand before you today as a first-time grandfather a week ago. So. And I'm blessed to get to work with some incredible individuals across this state. Some who are here with us today, Elizabeth Graham and Kylene Wright, Carol Everett. They are truly individuals who I've been so pleased to be able to work with, to stand shoulder to shoulder with. I'm particularly glad to see all of you this week, of all weeks. To have you all here is as we witnessed the very extremes that the pro-abortion forces will resort to in order to further their cause. They demonstrated that even if they lose at the ballot box, even if they come up short in attempts to stall on the Senate floor, they'll resort to mob tactics to force their minority agenda on the people of Texas. And I'm all about honest, open debate. Parliamentary tactics are certainly nothing new. But what we witnessed Tuesday was nothing more than the hijacking of the democratic process. And this is simply too important a cause to allow unruly actions of a few to stand in its way. And that is the reason that I have announced that I am bringing lawmakers back to Austin, Texas to finish their business. Thank you. And I put pro-life measures at the top of that call list. You know, in the 4 decades since Roe v. Wade, more than 50 million babies have lost their chance at life. Even in Texas, where the unborn is already more protected than most places, nearly 80,000 unborn children are lost to abortion each year. Every time I hear that statistic, it breaks my heart. 80,000 lives lost before taking their first breath. Some have tried to make this a partisan issue, but this isn't a partisan issue. This is a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. Faced with this scar on our national conscience, in Texas, we pursued policies to protect unborn children. Over the past 100 years, we've passed laws requiring both parental notification and parental consent, ensuring that parents are involved, ready to provide much-needed guidance and advice at the most critical of moments. We funded and promoted alternatives to abortion, providing counseling for women on the other options that won't stop the beating of their child's heart. In 2011, we passed a law requiring any mother considering an abortion to have a sonogram first, because children deserve the respect of simple recognition before their lives are tragically cut short. The laws we will pass in the coming weeks will build on that legacy of life. We will ban abortion after 20 weeks. And you think about it, it makes sense considering the growing number of healthy, happy children who are born prematurely at the same early gestation that our laws allow abortion. In fact, one of the laws that we passed during the regular session improved the quality of our neonatal intensive care units throughout Texas, treating children not much older than that 20 weeks. You know, it makes 0 sense after the second most common surgical procedure in the United States is done at clinics that are not held to the same standards as other surgical facilities. They say that adopting these laws will lead to the closure of most abortion clinics in Texas. But the majority of Texas lawmakers agree that any patient should have the expectation that facilities being used for a procedure are up to standards, and that when there's an emergency, when an emergency situation arises, they can receive the care that they need. If the abortion industry decides that the expense of running clean, safe facilities outweighs the money that they can make, that's entirely their call. Carol, we've seen too many horror stories coming out of Philadelphia or out of Houston about unsafe, unsanitary abortion mills that turn a profit by preying on women in desperate circumstances, and the gruesome nature of the lives lost there, mothers and children. It's important to remember that as a state, while we are under an obligation to protect the health and safety of people who live here, we are under no obligation to make things easier for the abortionist. See, the ideal world is a world without abortion. And until then, however, devoted Texans across our state, from Dallas to San Antonio and all points in between, are forming organizations. They're founding life centers to give women and the children that they carry a chance at a new life. They help women who might think there's no other way out see that there are options, better options, than stopping the beating heart of their child. Already, these individuals and their organizations have made a huge impact, a huge difference in the lives throughout Texas, helping families realize God's greatest gift, and that is the love of a child. You know, in the course of my travels and conversations with folks in this state and beyond the borders of Texas, I can't tell you how many people that I've met that dealing with the heartbreak of childlessness, of the frustration of not being able to be a parent. That's why we must work harder to connect those individuals, those couples who so deeply desire children, with those mothers whom the prospect of parenthood is just too much to bear. That is what we mean when we talk about the culture of life, not just in Texas, but all across this country. Yes, many children are born into difficult circumstances, but there is no such thing as an unwanted child. Because no life is trivial in God's eyes. And the fact is, who are we to say that children born into the worst of circumstances can't grow to live successful lives? In fact, even the woman who filibustered the Senate the other day was born into difficult circumstances. She was the daughter of a single woman. She was a teenage mother herself. She managed to eventually graduate from Harvard Law School and serve in the Texas Senate. It's just unfortunate that she hasn't learned from her own example, that every life must be given a chance to realize its full potential and that every life matters. Every life is precious. You know, our founding fathers understood that. That's why they affirmed the right to life in the Declaration of Independence, listing it ahead of liberty and the pursuit of happiness. As our forefathers correctly understood, life is nothing less than a gift from God. And defending that right is a calling worthy of our best. That's why we work so hard to protect all of God's children. There is no higher calling or more basic standard than that. I wish I could say, Professor, that we're reaching the end of our struggle. But the events of the last few days only underscore that we face continued challenges. And I'm proud of each of you. I'm proud of you for being here. I'm proud of you for standing up for life. In doing so, you reap the scorn of the abortion lobby and the disdain of the forces of secularism. But it is a just cause and an important calling. And it is the least that we could do for the memory of the 50 million who have been robbed of life. Over the past few days, the world has seen images of the Texas Capitol filled with pro-abortion activists screaming and cheering and drowning out the elected officials. Going forward, we have to match their intensity, but do it with grace and civility and the dignity that our cause deserves. We need to voice our opinions. We need to stand for what we believe without compromising our values or our basic goodness. In fact, if you would, take your phone out, and I want you to text in the word life and send it to 21824. Just text in the word life, 21824. That will enable us to stay connected with you over the course of the next few weeks in particular as we fight this battle, as we face these challenges. Because together we're making a positive change in Texas and, for that matter, across this country. And just remember this: the louder they scream, the more we know we are getting something done. So until the day that Roe v. Wade is nothing more but a shameful footnote in our nation's history books, we will not give up the good fight. God bless you, and through you may God continue to bless this great country we live in. Thank you.